Hello, my name is Lorianne Smith, and thanks for joining me here for this video presentation. This is my from my website, Born in Hell, and this is all dealing with the abuse and dysfunction that I grew up in, and it's a very sensitive topic. So if you're not sure, that this topic might bother you, topic of abuse, dysfunction, child abuse, domestic violence, drug abuse, suicide, things like that. If these topics bother you, you wouldn't be hurting my feelings if you didn't want to listen to it. You can always just go, listen to something else, because these are very sensitive topics, like I said, and nobody should feel obligated to listen. If it's clearly your choice, you have to make the right decision for yourself. I'm not going to be getting too graphic here in this discussion. This is an audio so that I can present this photo as my discussion topic. This photo says a lot. This photo was taken in the house that we lived in on La Vida in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I believe I was about 12 there. Probably 12 and a half, I'd say. And so I would have been in ninth grade. I started school early, so I was 1 year younger than the people that were in my class. So that happens when your birthday's like late in the year, and they wanted to get me in school early rather than later when I was very young. So I'm, a little bit young for my age to be in high school, and but I'm not young in age as far as my attitude goes and my, the way I handle myself, because I've been abused all my life. And these photos are so difficult to look at. I see, I see the truth behind this photo. Other people see this photo and they think, oh, there's just a family picture. Obviously it's a family photo of some type. There's the mom, and there's some kids, and a cat, and in a kind of a rundown kitchen. And they all look somewhat happy. They look a little distracted, and all of them are a little bit distracted in this photo. My mom's smiling, and my sister's looking like, do I really have to be in this photo? And I will talk about this photo and just give you some background information. Anybody who's listened to my stuff knows my story, and knows the dysfunction and abuse that I grew up in. But I was looking at photos recently, and I actually don't have this one actually on me as a physical copy, but my sister had it, and I actually uploaded it on my Flickr. And so my sister Kathy has this photo, the original. This is just an upload from my Flickr site. So I didn't download a copy of it from there, so I just grabbed a picture of it real quick with my camera. So that's about as clear as it gets. It's an old photo, probably from, I'd say I was 12 and a half there, summertime, probably going on 13 in the winter. And I'm sure of it because this was the year that my brother Rob came to stay with us when he after he tried to commit suicide. So I'm gonna just give you who the names are, starting in the very front center. I'm standing there with the striped shirt on, looking funny, standing in a odd way. My brother's arm is actually there. It looks like maybe my arm, but it's my brother's arm. My arms are behind me because my mom actually has my arms in her hands, forcing me to be in the picture, because I was she wanted me to settle down or something, so she grabbed my arms and was pulling me back. So that's why I'm standing like that, which is a little bit weird. My nephews are playing with my cat, Tigger, and my nephews were just a little bit younger than me. My nephew Mike, which is in the orange shirt right next to me, he was 3 months younger than me, so we're basically the same age. My sister was pregnant with him at the same time that my mom was with me. So we would have been born at the same time, but I was born premature. I was taken out C-section because my mom was sick and dying when I was born, because I was an Rh factor baby, and my blood was poisoning her, and her blood was poisoning me, so we were both dying. So they had to remove me. So they did that in December. So my birth date is December 16th. I was 2.5 months early, so I would have been a February baby. close, which is I'm a little bit older than him, so then I would have been a year older than Mike at that point. Yeah, that's right. We wouldn't have matched up, but we're pretty close in age, and Danny is right next to him holding the cat, my little Tigger cat, and he is just a year and a bit younger than Mike. So, he's a year and a half younger than me, and those are my nephews. My sister Irene is not in this photo. She had, my nephews were with us for the day. I don't think they were spending the night, but they were with us for the day. Irene, my sister, probably had something to do or whatever. So they were at the house. My mom is standing right behind me, and right to the tall guy on the very left is my brother Howard, with the black shirt on, short sleeve, and short hair. He's standing next to me and my mom. That's Howard, and he's 7 years older than me. And my mom is right behind me, and my sister Kathy is right behind my nephew Danny with the cat. So Kathy's got the darker hair. She's looking like she doesn't want to be in the photo because I know she didn't. I remember taking this picture. I remember being in this photo. And my brother Rob is right behind her. And Rob is the one who tried to kill himself. And my mom brought him home to stay with us after he attempted suicide. And because he had phoned, I wrote about this in my book, A Life of Death or Redemption. He had phoned to tell my mom he lived in Canada, here in Calgary, Alberta, where I live now. And he called my mom and said, "I'm killing myself. Look what you've caused me to do. You ruined my life, and I'm killing myself." And so he was a cocaine addict and a major, probably a heroin addict. I wouldn't doubt it. He was very, very addicted to drugs. So was Howard. Howard was very high right here next to me. They were drug users, and they were big-time drug users. So they had to have their fixes. They had to steal for, they didn't work for their drugs. They stole for their drugs. And my mom had to hide her jewelry and stuff because they would hawk it, and for drugs. And my sister had to hide all her stuff because they would hawk her stuff too. I had toys, Barbies and dolls, and games and puzzles. They didn't really want that stuff, so I didn't have to worry about anybody taking my stuff. But my sister did, and they used to steal her stuff, so she had to hide it. She had to take her stuff with her when she left the house, because otherwise it'd be gone. But my brother, he came back and stayed with us, and this is the reason why we're taking this picture, is because he had just arrived from Canada. He was coming down for a visit. And you can see it's just the most bizarre photo. He's looking up, smoking a cigarette, blowing smoke rings. Oh, look at me, life is grand. I didn't end up, I was saved from killing myself. He was literally dying. He had sliced his wrist up instead of across, and massive blood loss. But they saved him in time because he had phoned and told my mom, "I'm killing myself," whatever he said to her, something like that. She's like, "Where are you?" So he told her where he said he was at his place, at his apartment. She knew where that was. So she ran across the street. This is the days before cell phones. She ran across the street to use the neighbor's phone to get my brother to get the police to go to his place and save him, and they did. In the meantime, my mom put me on the phone with him and said, "Keep talking to him, don't let him get off the phone." So I was talking to my brother on the phone, and that's the that's the phone call where he said that he loved what he did to my body. My brother Rob is the one that sexually abused me, raped me for the period of about a year. Not every day, not every night. I mean, it was a series of assaults, and caused me to be barren. And, when he was on the phone telling me that, I had already, this was just a few years before this picture's taken. I'm 12 and a half here. So that would have been maybe a month before this picture was taken, because he came up. My mom wanted him to come home for a while so she could make sure he didn't kill himself, right? And so he was in the house with us again, which was really, this picture doesn't show it, but everybody's a little leery. He's a suicidal drug addict, and he sexually abused me, and hurt me incredibly bad. My mom did nothing about it. She just eventually shipped him off to Canada. So I I put that all in a drawer, and in an imaginary drawer, and put it away so I wouldn't have to deal with it. The CSA child sexual abuse, I just couldn't deal with the fact that that had happened, and that, I didn't understand it. I was 8 years old. I couldn't figure out why he was hurting me. I didn't understand, why he would want to do that to me. I loved my brother very much. I loved all my brothers, and for him to do that to me, and he just caused me so much hatred of my own body and hatred of being a woman, and throughout life. Here at this age, I'm not thinking that way. I'm 12 and a half. I'm not thinking too much kid stuff, because my kid days were over, long before this. I'm kind of a little bit uneasy with him in the house, and because I know, what he's capable of doing, and my sister is too. All of us are a little nervous. My mom's happy. She's got her son there. She's got her other son there now. 2 of her sons with her, and the other, Kevin, was still in Canada, and Chess was murdered. So she loved her boys very much. So my mom's looks very happy to have my brother there. But behind her smile is the fact that she knows she's got a drug addicted 2 sons here now that are drug addicted in the house, and she's gonna have to hide everything, like her money and her jewelry, anything that she's got, and her pills. She always had to hide her pills from my brother Howard, who's in the black t-shirt next to us, because he's a pill popper, and he would just take whatever pills, So this was absolutely insane, an insane time. But you'd never know it by looking at this photo. Everybody looks happy, smiling, except for my sister. She looks a little bummed out. But this picture, shortly after this picture was taken, my brother Rob, he stayed with us for, 3-4 months. I don't even think it was half a year, but he did stay with us for a while. And he was miserable because he couldn't get his drugs, and he had just tried to kill himself that year. And here he is in his abuser parents' house, this house that we rented. And I think his mind was just blown, because here he is sitting in this house with his mother, psychotic mother, who basically is the reason why he does drugs in the first place, and his psychotic dad, who's also suicidal and highly abusive, who abused him. And that's, my brother Rob is the one that my dad abused the most, and that's why my dad was brought up on child abuse charges, because my dad was always beating on him. And so there's no wonder he's really messed up, and my brother Howard as well. All of us are really screwed up. And this photo, when I see it, it's just so disturbing to me, because Mike and Danny are oblivious. They don't have a clue. My nephews, they just know the tyranny of their mother, because my sister is their mother. She's not in this photo, like I said, but if she was, she'd be looking kind of sour, like Kathy probably. She was a unhappy woman, and abused by my mom and dad. All of us were abused. And there's the 2 boys. They are not really being treated all that well by my sister and her husband. And I wouldn't necessarily call it abuse, but in a way it was, because these 2 boys knew that their parents didn't want them. They really didn't want kids. My sister didn't anyway. And she wasn't all that nice to them, and they were always beating on them and smacking them around and stuff like that. But they just kind of, the abuse wasn't as bad as the stuff that was going on in my home. So they didn't know the same level of insanity, and the same level of psychotic behavior from parental figures. So they fared a little bit better. And my sister and I always said that we would be the ones that would make it, because my 2 brothers in this photo killed themselves. They went on eventually to kill themselves a few years later, unfortunately. My brother, 2 years after this picture was taken, actually a year and a half after this picture was taken, I would have been 13 and a half, going into the 10th grade. My mom beat me with a rolling pin here in this kitchen, and shoved me up a wall, against a wall with a table in my ribs, cracking my ribs, and beat the crap out of me, and with a rolling pin. And I was a year older than this picture here, so not much change, not much size change. I was still pretty small. And My brother was still living in the house at the time, Howard, who's standing next to me in a black shirt. He tried to save me, but my mom had slammed the door and told him to stay out, and she beat the crap out of me with this rolling pin, cracked my head, and blood was pouring out all over the floor. I detailed that in the book. And that wasn't the only beating I took in that kitchen. I mean, but it was the worst one. And I just could never figure out my mother. I could never figure out what was wrong with her. You know what I mean? Like, why she would do that to me. And my brother around that time also grabbed my sister and put a knife to her throat. Kathy, the one in this picture. My brother Howard with the short hair and the t-shirt next to me. And he wanted her to take him on a drug run to rob a pharmacy of drugs, not money. And so he had a knife to her throat. My mom was telling me to talk him down and, tell him that he shouldn't be doing that and hurting our sister. And Kathy had this knife to her throat, and she was just like, oh my God, and my brother was so messed up and so high. And he's like, I'll kill you if you don't take me to do this. And he was serious. And he literally had this knife right against her throat. And it wasn't a joke. And so she had to go do this. She did take him, but she dropped him off close to the pharmacy and split. He robbed the pharmacy, but he dropped his wallet on the way out in the parking lot. And the police, the FBI and all that came to our house. And he had to go to drug rehab. So that was a year after this picture was taken. So this was our life. It was chaos. It was, it was horrible. And my mom, of course, oh, you kids just caused me so much problems. It was my mom and dad's fault that we were the way we were. My brother Rob eventually went home after this, episode of him staying here. He did threaten to hurt me. He said that I knew what he would do to me if I bothered him. So me and my nephews were running through the house one day, and because they were over quite a bit, and we were running through the house having fun, and he was like, stay out, and he started screaming because he needed his drugs. He couldn't get his cocaine or his heroin or whatever he was doing. And here he is in his abuser parents' house, probably reliving all these horrible memories. And we were bothering him, so he said, stay out. And he said, you stay away from me because you know what I'll do to you. And I was just like, oh my God. And so it was just a horrible experience. Then he went home. I was glad. I was like, thank God. And when I was 20, he would have been 33. He's 13 years older than me. He finally killed himself. So he made it. He killed himself. And then a few years later, when I was 29, my brother was 36, and he killed himself. Howard. He suicide by overdose in a shelter. I'm sure that it was suicide. It was on his birthday. In a shelter here in Calgary. He was by himself. He wanted to come home for Christmas. My mom wouldn't let him come home. And I don't know why he'd want to come home for Christmas. You know what I mean? I kept telling him, it's not going to be that great of a deal, but we'd love to see you. But my mom wouldn't pay for half his ticket. I was willing to pay for half his ticket, but he killed himself. So these two brothers killed themselves. My mom was suicidal. Always talking about killing herself or killing me. I was suicidal. A little bit after this picture, I started to think that, I'd be better off dead. And I'd felt dead, by this time. I even told my mom to go and kill me. And in the other house on Indian School Road, Hell House, that was just before this picture. Like the year before or 2 years before, my mom had beat me up severely bad there. And, broke my nose and really damaged my face. And that was just some hard years for me, trying to grow up in that and trying to maintain identity. Who am I? Am I what my parents are calling me? Am I a bad person because they beat on me? Did I deserve to be raped by my brother? And so I was very confused. I didn't know, my parents were both suicidal and always talking about suicide. My brother was trying to commit suicide. So I was thinking, I should be dead too. I really didn't care really if I lived or died. And that kind of went on. Now Kathy, I don't know. I don't think she's suicidal. I think she's very much in denial. She doesn't look at any of this the same that I do. Like, she just thinks, it was just the way things were. It was fine that my dad was trying to rape my mother all the time. That's why they were fighting all the time. And it was fine that my dad had abused us and that my mom was abusing us. They didn't beat on her like they did us. For some reason, they sort of left her alone, my sister Kathy. But she was still in the house and still had to deal with the garbage, and she was also kind of abusive to me, being almost 6 years older than me. She just really was tired of having to share a room with me and tired of having me around. But I was just not wanted. I was not wanted in that house. I wasn't wanted at all. And a year after this picture was taken, when my mom beat me in this kitchen here with the rolling pin, I went to my friend's house because I didn't know where else to go. I didn't have anybody where else to go. And I thought, man, if I pass out somewhere, I could die. And I should have just gone and just died somewhere. That would have been just too bad. But my parents would have been busted at that point on child abuse and probably arrested and done jail time for manslaughter. And so I went to my friend's house, and from then on, I really had a lot of hatred in my heart for my mother and my dad too, and the trauma that they put us through. And the hatred started to really grow in my heart, like towards myself. And I was only about 13 years old. See, I was heading to sophomore, my 10th year in high school, and I really felt just very inadequate. I didn't feel that I could do life. I started using drugs actually when I was 12. I was probably high here in this photo. I wouldn't doubt it. And I just felt like I didn't deserve to be alive. I shouldn't be alive. And my friend Arlene was killed on prom night a few years later when I was 15, I was 15. She was 16, going on 17. And so she was my best friend. And at that point, I really thought that it should have been me that went, because her family loved her, and they didn't abuse their children, her parents. They loved their children, and God would take her, and I couldn't figure out why God would allow that to happen. Like, why he would take her and not take me. I'm the one that wasn't wanted. My mom didn't care if social services took me away. She didn't care. So this photo, when you see photos like this, it's only telling part of the truth. That's why pictures are so inadequate to reality. It's like there's nothing remotely real about this photo. My mom is fighting with my dad horrifically at this time. He's beating on her and slapping her around. She's throwing things at him, trashing the kitchen, beating on my brother Howard with a broom and stuff. Like smacking him around. And Kathy's just gone almost all the time. She's rarely home. And I'm hanging around trying to avoid my mom's beatings, especially some from my dad. My dad was abusive to me too, and in this home as well. Like, I took a few beatings from him. He used to beat me with a belt across the face. I'd just flip him off. I'd be like, I'd just tell him off. I'd be like, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, what, you're gonna try to control me and abuse me? Like, you're the reason the family's all screwed up in the first place, right? He'd tell me I was the reason the family was screwed up. So this was a very horrible experience. And abuse is so damaging for children and everybody involved. It's heartbreaking, because I know my brother, actually, Howard, did try to protect me a few times from the abuse, but he also slapped me around a few times because I was off school grounds, and I had a note to be off school grounds. I was allowed to be off school grounds because I was walking my friend home because she was sick, and I had a note from the teacher that I was allowed to do this. And he didn't even care that I had this note. He just slapped me around, and he told my mom. And then when I got home, my mom was pissed off, and I don't know if I caught a beating for that or not. But it's like nobody gave anybody a chance in our family. It was just violent and abusive. And then as adults, none of us could get along. because we had no, we have no ability to connect, like, at all. And I don't think it's like my sister blames me or blames, like, she knows who is at fault there. It's our parents, but we still don't get along for some reason. I'm just not sure. It's really bizarre. And my brothers, they weren't that close. Obviously, I mean, my brother Rob came in from Canada. He hasn't been around for a few years, and Howard's standing over here on this side. It's like they're not that close. Um, Nobody's that close in my home. But there's my mom smiling because she's got two of her boys there, and I felt part of me felt sorry for my mom because she was a victim as well. You know what I mean? Like, she was abused herself, and then married this man who abused her and the children, and she tried to divorce him in Canada, but they wouldn't allow her to divorce him. So, she sort of just kept trucking along with my dad, and you know, they should have been separated. They should have gotten help and then maybe come back together, but they didn't. So that's why these photos are just so hard. And in one sense, I like to have some photos to look back at, but in another sense, I know everything behind this photo, right? So it's sad, and I think that by allowing myself to feel the feelings and allowing myself as a survivor of abuse, for anybody who's listening who's also a survivor of trauma and abuse, you have to be in a safe place to be able to do this sort of thing, to look back, and you have to have support system around you for people that could, you can call if you're not doing well, and be aware of how you're going to handle looking back at something like this. For me, it's okay because I've dealt with the trauma of after coming to Canada, getting away from my abusive family, and allowing myself to start letting this stuff come to the surface and deal with it, which I should have had help actually to do that. But at the age of 42, I mean, I was going to kill myself. I was going to end it. I was just so tired of the pain and trauma that I was carrying in my heart and in my mind and in my very existence. And I thought, I have to get help. And so I started reaching out. So instead of killing myself, I said, if I do that, my abusers win. My brothers killed themselves, and they let my abuser parents win, but not me. I'm winning this fight because I'm staying alive, and I'm doing really quite well for somebody who's come through this garbage. And it's a battle. It's a struggle. Some days are easier than others. Some days are harder than others. Some, survivors of abuse are triggered by many things: calendar dates, any sort of seasons, holidays, there's certain times of the year will trigger people, smells, sounds, you name it. So it's like, you have to find what works for yourself so you can cope and get through this stuff. I'm already well through all that because I did a lot of work on my healing journey. And if you're interested in my healing journey, was all my audios that I did for One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, and they're all on YouTube and also on my website. But it's under that playlist, One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. That's my healing journey, pretty much. Like, I was really going through and doing the work and looking at the stuff, looking at the issues. What are the issues? What caused me to feel the way that I did about myself at all the different stages in my life? I really went through and did a lot of work. So today I can sit here and say, I'm really doing really well. For somebody who's been traumatized like that as a child, and there's wounds and hurts that will never go away. But I'm very spiritual. I wouldn't say I'm religious. I'm really not religious, but I am very, very spiritual. And I just believe that it'll all be restored. And I just believe that, this life is full of suffering. It really is. And who's exempt? Like, nobody. We all suffer, maybe in just different ways. Everybody is going to experience loss. And everybody's going to experience hardship at some point. And even if it doesn't last for a long time, I mean, survivors of abuse and trauma, you get used to living with that sort of high intense pain and drama and trauma. Um, so you develop sort of skills in order to do it, but they're usually not healthy. Then you have to learn how to get rid of the unhealthy stuff that you're using to cope, and cope using healthier ways to cope, right? And that's what I'm learning how to do. And it's it's a, like I said, it's an ongoing battle. I don't think I'll ever fully be done with this. The damage is too deep. It's too severe. But the thing is, I mean, unless I just want to pretend it didn't happen, like some of my family members, and just be like, oh, well, it didn't happen, so it's okay. And be in denial. I refuse to do that, because I want to I'm living an authentic life. And that's, to live an authentic life, you have to be real. And in order to be real with the world, you have to be real with yourself. And it's like, I wanted to live an authentic life, and and have authentic, real friendships, and be a real person that, yeah, I understand pain, and I've hurt people too, and I want forgiveness, and I'm not perfect, and nobody is. But I can do better, and I'm always on a mission to do better. I want to finish strong. I want to finish my earth walk strong. I want to go out strong, mentally, physically, in every way. So when I do leave this earth, it wasn't all for nothing, So I don't really sit around crying the blues all the time and, oh, poor me, I'm an abuse survivor. But I do reach out to survivors of abuse, because I know how hard it is. And so, for those who are listening, who are my survivor friends, you just have to keep looking for what works for you to help you get through things, and keep going strong, and don't give up, because to give up is to let the abuser win, whoever the abuser was in your life, or abusers. That still gives them the control. For me, it's like, no, I'm doing good. I'm taking care of myself. I'm treating myself and other people well, and I don't have a life full of drama. I have a lot of peace. Like, I have peace in my life. I've got peace in my heart, and peace in my walls, peace in my home, and I love it. And because I didn't grow up with it, so I recognize the difference. I'm very happy to be just living a peaceful, life, and glad to be away from the drama and the trauma, and the abuse and the garbage. So it's like, you have to set boundaries, and know what you want in this life, and go for it. So for everybody who's listening, take really good care of yourselves, and I wish you all the best. If I can help you with anything, get a hold of me here on YouTube, or my website. I have several places you can contact me if you need anything. You can contact AU4H, Advocates United for Humanity, and if you want information about any type of abuse, child abuse, domestic violence, you name it. Tons of information and free resources there from Donna Shear and Lee Roberts. You can contact NAASCA, National Association of Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, NAASCA, that's NAASCA.org. Bill Murray, Carol Levine, all these people, my wonderful friends, they're wonderful people. They help a lot of, they do a lot of work to help survivors of abuse. And there's a lot more than that. But those are just some of I personally know the people, and I trust them. So, there are some untrustworthy people out there. You have to be careful who you tell your story to. You have to be careful who you get involved with. But there are trustworthy people out there. You just have to find them. And then, you can be in a safe environment where you can share, you can get help, you can find resources in your own area, and you can heal, right? It doesn't mean it's perfect. Like I said, I never present myself as being somebody who's so above it all. I'm so beyond and above, because I couldn't fake that. I couldn't pull it off if I wanted to. Like, I'm poor. I don't have any money. I'm broke. I quite often am not working. I have physical problems with my body, emotional problems, because I don't let anybody abuse me. And the minute somebody does, I'm standing up for myself, which, I mean, in today's world, that's somebody who has emotional problems, can't take abuse. It's like, I'm not taking any more abuse. I don't care who it is, right? And so, I'm just done with that. I'm tired of it. Can't treat me with respect and dignity. You're not in my life. I don't care if you're a boss or who you are. So that's me, and I stand up for myself now, and I don't feel bad about it at all. And I make no bones about it. I'm like, no, I do stand up for myself, and I stand up for what's right. And I only hang around with people that stand up for what's right. So you have to do the same if you want a decent life. You know, growing up abused, we have to look out for ourselves. We have to be our own best advocates, right? So I've never presented myself as somebody who's just got it all together. But I did learn how to. I found real love. You know, my husband was a wonderful man, and he really was a huge part of my healing journey. And he loved me for me, which I thought was fantastic. He didn't try to change me or didn't want me to be any other way. He just loved me for me, and I needed somebody to love me for me because my mom hated me, and you know, my whole family really didn't love me. So I needed somebody to love me, and then I had to learn how to love myself. So I spent a lot of work working on myself and working on, you know, learning how to take care of myself and how to love myself and treat myself right. And, you know, I found true friendship. I have some of the most wonderful friends in the whole world. I always have, actually. That's why I hang on to all my old friends, too, from the old days, because I've always had some amazingly wonderful friends who have been there to help me out. And I'll never forget it. So, you know, yeah, life hasn't been perfect, and it certainly isn't, and it won't be. But at the end of the road, at the end of my life journey, I could sit back and I could say, wow, it's my victory. That's why I wrote that poem, My Victory, on my website. It's my victory. They tried to destroy me. They tried to destroy my image. They tried to destroy my spirit, my soul. You know, my abusers. And they did nothing to try to help me to feel better about myself. They just kept oppressing me by, you know, stamping on my face and rubbing my face into the ground, like, you know, just to wipe me out, right? And here I sit today, you know, heading to 60 years old, but I, I care about myself. I love myself, and I also learned how to love other people, and learned myself to love myself at the same time. And so I win. I win because I don't have militia. I don't have all this horrible stuff in my heart. I've got love in my heart, and I've got love for this life and for people. I also understand how hard it is for people, so I've got a lot of sadness in my heart because I know there's so many people out there that are hurting and struggling and suffering. And there's a lot of anger in my heart because I know there's people out there abusing children, so I can be real. I can be real about all of this stuff. So at the end of the day, it's my victory. I don't have to hide behind walls. I don't have to hide behind those closed doors. I don't have to hide the bruises. I don't have to hide the pain. It's out there, man. You know? So in order to get better, I had to face my own pain. And that's a hard thing to do on your own, but that's what I'm saying. Reach out and get some help if you don't think you can do that on your own. So take care, everybody. I wish you all the best. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll be back around again. Hopefully I'll be broadcasting a few more times here, you know, this summer. I'm busy. I'm writing a book and finishing that off, and I'm actually kind of trying to do all sorts of things, but I got a little bit sort of sick for a while. I've sort of haven't been all that healthy for the last few months. Not even so much emotionally, just more physically. I'm just not really well. But I'm getting better, and I'm starting to feel better, and so I'm going to get back on stuff, and hopefully I'll be back around here to do some more broadcasts and stuff. So just take really good care of yourselves. Like I said, if you can't cope, you call a crisis line. You call somebody. But you do not allow yourself to lose this fight. No way. Like you didn't deserve that, and you don't deserve that. But you have to do the best thing for yourself. And the very best thing you could do for yourself is learn how to love yourself and take care of yourself. Because that's what the abuse does. It tries to destroy you. But you can overcome that, you know, and you can win this fight. And you can be the one that says, "No, I win because I'm having a good life." Ha ha. You know, the abusers are gone or dead or whatever. And it's like, you know, and we're sitting there going, "Yeah, we did it. We made it." That's my victory, right? I really wish that for all abuse survivors. I really do. I wish it for you if you're struggling. Like I said, take take it easy, get some help. Don't do this on your own. And I love you all very much. Talk to you soon.